In the previous class, we were discussing about how to measure the rainfall. I gave you a brief idea of different types of rain gauges. Okay, so I have to discuss the last one, which is floating type of rain gauge. Okay, so I'll just try to show you how the mechanism of that works. Okay, I guess this picture is visible to you. So in this picture, you can see this is what the floating type of rain gauge. I have shown you previously uh, this weighing type rain gauge. Then I have shown you this tipping bucket type. I had explained you how this mechanism works. So this is your weighing type rain gauge. So as the water gets collected in this bucket, the weight of the bucket will keep on increasing, and as the increase in weight of bucket will create the changes in the spring, and the spring will enable the record of rain gauge here. Okay, so this is what the mechanism for weighing type of rain gauge. This was the last one, which is called as floating type of rain gauge. So in order to make you understand this in a simple manner, I hope all of you have wash what do you say, like um, a toilet at your home. In that, you can see that there is a flush tank, right? So this exactly works similar to that of the flush tank. What happens in your flush tank? There is a floating ball is there. I hope you all have seen inside that flush tank. So what happens in a ball? The water level rises as you discharge all the water. So after the completion of work, you discharge all the water into that potty. Then that flush tank, inside there is a float, or there is a ball kind of a thing. That ball goes to the bottom. Okay. Then there is suddenly a valve opens, automatic valve opens, and then the water starts filling the tank. As the flush tanks keeps on filling the water, will be fed with the water, the float rises above. Okay, then there is a point at which the float will stop to rise. Okay, as soon as it stop rises, the wall which was open earlier will get closed. I hope you all have seen this. Okay, a similar mechanism is existing in this type also. So as you can see, this is the float. Okay, so this is the opening from which the water will be collected, and that water comes to this funnel, and then this funnel will discharge water into this small opening in this chamber, and this chamber will dispose water in this tank. Okay, so earlier this float will be at the bottom. Okay, so as the water level rises here, the float will also rise to some point. Okay, then what happens as the float rises? This is the chart we have. In this chart, all the data will get recorded. Okay, as the float rises, it simply mentions the amount of rainfall that is taking place, right? So it is also synchronized with the time. Okay, and it is also noting down the time and the height of increase of the float. Okay, both it is recording. So that's how it records the data, and the increase in the height of the float is representing the rainfall, and the duration of rise of this float will represent the duration of rainfall. Okay, now after that, what happens? Once the chamber is completely filled, there is a siphonic arrangement is made. Okay, this siphonic arrangement will immediately dispose of all the water once this tank completely get filled up. Okay, so this is what the mechanism of floating type of rain gauge. Okay, all right. So I have explained you three types of rain gauges. There are basically two classification of rain gauge. One classification is uh, with respect to recording and non-recording rain gauge. Non-recording rain gauge is siphons rain gauge, and recording rain gauges are of three types. One was a weighing type, then there is a floating type, then there was tipping bucket type. So we have discussed all of those. Okay. Now next, what we'll do is we will try to understand how do we represent these uh, we'll try to understand how do we represent the rainfall. Okay, how do we record the rainfall? So what I'll do is I'll just show you. We'll come back to this part of how to evaluate how many values are required. So before that, what we'll do is we'll try to analyze the rainfall records. So to understand this, what I'll do is I'll go back to the website which I shown you earlier to explain you the spatial and temporal distribution of rainfall. I had shown you a website. That website I was okay, I hope you all remember this website. I had taken you earlier to this website. Okay. Uh, Now I hope this is visible to you. Okay. I'll try to explain all the things that you're seeing in the screen. Okay. This is the left part, which is basically the input thing. And this is the right part, which is basically giving you all the output. Okay. With respect to the kind of output input that you give, you will get the output. Okay. And this is the representation of rainfall spatially. Okay. Now what you do is that in this website, I'll briefly explain you this website called as India WRS. Okay. This is basically a website which is fully dedicated to the downloading the data from the for hydrological parameters of the country. Okay, so I'll show you this. First, what we'll do is we'll try to understand what type of data we'll have. We can have the data with respect to rainfall, reservoirs, river points, evapotranspiration, soil moisture, water quality, and minor irrigation tanks. So there is another set of data which is called as groundwater data. In groundwater, we can as groundwater and water quality. Okay, then there is audit, so you don't need to worry about it. Okay, so this is surface water. With respect to surface water, the first value that we want to know, or first component of hydrology that we want to know, is rainfall. Okay, so once you click the rainfall, so what you do is that in rainfall we have there are two ways to find out that to get the data. Okay, one is with respect to administrative boundary, the other one is with respect to basin. Okay, so basically for all the hydrologists, we are interested to understand the rainfall with respect to basin. Okay, I had explained you earlier, but once again I'll just try to show you. This is, if you click here, you can see what is the output that you're getting. Okay, I have converted this in terms of basin. Okay, so if I click here, this is your area of focus. What is the area of focus here? Ganga basin. Okay, so this data that we are seeing over here in this side is basically dedicated to only Ganga basin. Okay, now if I go and click somewhere here, see here. So if I click here, this is my Krishna basin. Okay, so the area of focus is Krishna basin. Then you will get to know the data, that is the rainfall data with respect to this basin. Okay, now you can also get the data with respect to administrative boundaries. Like right now, the area of focus is India. You can focus this to your specific state. Like for example, this is your specific state, Karnataka. So in Karnataka, we can again further go to our particular area, which is Bijapur. Okay, now I can click Bijapur and I'll get to know the data for Bijapur. Okay, so this is how you can find out the rainfall data from a website. Okay, but you must understand what are these data that are given to you. Okay, there are different ways, sources that we have. Okay, what basically we do as a hydrologist is that we divide this entire area into several grids. Okay, like for example, to explain you in a simple manner, if you open your photo and if you try to zoom in, you zoom into an extent that you will see a square boxes. Okay, those are called grids. So how your photo is developed, if you try to understand how your photo is developed, is that your entire photo is divided into several grids. Okay, several grids are there. So in all those grids, the color is filled, different colors are filled. Okay, so after filling the colors in all the grids, your picture is formulated. Okay, so basically in a similar manner, what we are doing is that we are dividing this entire space into several grids. Okay, that grid may have some size. Okay, like for example, 5 meter by 5 meter, 10 meter by 10 meter, or 30 meter by 30 meter grids will be made. Okay, so I cannot actually see this grid. If we keep on zooming in, we can find out those grids. Okay, but anyway, right now the source that I'm getting is from IMD. IMD means Indian Meteorological Department. So basically, this is the original or the primary source for the hydrological data. Okay, So Indian Meteorological Department. Okay. So Indian Meteorological Department has created several grids for the entire space, and they have filled in the values of rainfall in all those grids. Okay. So earlier, what happens in your case in photo, the colors are filled, the data there is color. In this case, the data is your rainfall value. Okay. So in all those small pixels or small grids, the rainfall value is filled. Okay. So then this grid is created or this data is created. Okay. So now if I change this to other sources, like for example, all agencies, then there are specific agencies which will give you the data. So we can divide that. Okay. Based on the source also, you can go and find out the data. Okay. Like for example, if I click all agencies, so this data will be with respect to all the agencies. There are different agencies, like for example, there is water board is there, groundwater board is there. Then there are several state bodies will be there and central bodies will be there. Then there are several bodies with respect to a particular basin. So they are all collecting the data. Okay. So if this source represents the collection of data from all the different agencies. Okay. But this was representing basically from the IMD itself. Indian Meteorological Department has given this source, and this was given by all the agencies. Okay. Anyway, now the next thing what we'll do is we'll see the time step. Okay. What kind of data that you want? Do you want to know how much is the rainfall that is happening daily? Then you have to click here as daily rainfall. So for every day you want to get the data, then you will get the data for every day. Okay. If you want to change it to monthly, so it means whatever the rainfall that has happened for a 1 month, you can click for monthly, and we need to click the data. You need to select the start and end time, and then you will get to have the data over here. Okay. I'll just simply show you that. So what we'll do is that we'll go to around 2009. Okay, January. Then we'll stop at 2019 December. Okay. So I'm getting my source from where the data I'm getting is all the agencies of India. Then the time step I'm giving is monthly for January, February, like this. Every month the rainfall is recorded, total cumulative rainfall is recorded. Okay. Then we have start time January 2009 and end time December 2009. This basically gives you the data for 1 decade, 10 years. Okay. Now here you can select the type of data, whether you want to get the sum of all, or you want to get the average, or you want to get only the minimum values, or you want to get the maximum values. Let me keep it as sum. What does the sum means? This will sum up all the values of rainfall between 1 month. Okay. So let's click submit. Once I click the submit, you can see there is a changes that has happened in the right side. Okay. I'll get back to this dotted values. Okay. I'll get back to this. Basically what we'll focus is on uh, only this part. Okay. Right. Okay, see here. So this is source is IMD grid, and I have given you the timing, and we are getting the sum of all the values. Now this basically gives, see here, monthly cumulative rainfall information from January 2009 to 31st December 2019 using IMD grid data. So this is the total rainfall. This is the actual rainfall. Okay, this is normal rainfall. I'll explain you what is normal rainfall data. Okay. This is the actual rainfall that has happened. Means 11,990 mm of rainfall has happened in the last 10 years. This is the cumulative value. Okay. So if you want to know the individual data, like for example, for 2011, somewhere January, June or May, if you want to see, you will get to know how much it is. Like for June, it is 192.76 mm of rainfall. This is June 2011. Similarly, you can go and see how much is the rainfall that has happened in August 2018 or similar to that. You can hover over, or you can point at any of the bar, and you will see which month and which year rainfall it is showing. Okay. Now, if you want to get the data, what you need to do is that you have to download it over here. Okay, download CSV. So this is how we can find out, or we can understand the data. Now, from this, what you need to understand is how data is represented, how data is collected. Data is collected basically daily. Every day, the data is collected. So that daily rainfall can be converted into monthly rainfall, or it can be converted into yearly rainfall. Okay. Then there is another thing that you have to focus on, whether you are collecting data for a administrative boundary, or you are collecting the data for a basin. Okay. So basically what we do as a hydrologist is that we are not interested in admin. With respect to administration boundary, we do not want to get the data. We want to get data with respect to basin. So that's why I'll choose basin here. So if I choose basin, I'll go back to our Krishna basin. Now the focus area is our Krishna basin. So in Krishna basin, you can basically see how much is the rainfall that has happened. So in Krishna basin, in the last 10 years, the rainfall is 8,334 mm, and with respect to different uh, months, you can see how much is the rainfall that has happened for a month. Okay, again, you can download over from here. So again, this Krishna basin is further divided into several sub basins. Okay, now let me click on Krishna middle. So you will be focused on only the middle part of Krishna. Okay. Right. So this is middle part of Krishna. In middle part of Krishna, this is what the rainfall is. Okay. So you can similarly go and find out how much is the rainfall for different basins at different sub basins also. So this basically gives you that data. Okay. Now three things you have to understand. First thing is that what is the source from where you're getting the data. Second thing is what is the aerial extent that you are figuring it out. The third thing is the time step. What is the time step you are giving? And if it is daily, you'll get the daily rainfall. For every day, there is a rainfall data that is recorded. Okay. Now, what I'll do is I'll show you another set of data that we collect. Okay. Now I'll change this to all agencies. I'll change this to all agencies and I'll click for advanced filter. In advanced filter, we can select, you can see here, there are two categories over here, manual and telemetry. Okay. So first I'll click on manual only and submit it. So you can see that these are all the rain gauge stations across India. Okay. And you can find out that I had earlier told you that we do not have information in this part of the India. There are no rain gauges over here. That's why this we cannot rely upon the value of rainfall that is represented from this side. But you can see these are the rain gauge stations that we have in India. Okay, and you can primarily focus where the rain gauges are more. Okay, in this region, in Maharashtra, in this region, we have good record of rain gauges in this area. As you see in Karnataka, there are very few rain gauge stations, and all these rain gauge stations are manual rain gauge stations. It means what? They are not recording type of rain gauges. They are all non-recording rain gauges. Okay. Now let me show you all the recording type of rain gauges, which are called as telemetry, which are recorded, uh, which are like automatically recorded. So these are our automatically recorded rain gauges. Okay, there is no manual thing to do. Okay, so these are recording rain gauges. Okay, now I can focus on one single station and I can get the data. So like for example, I'll click all. By clicking all, I'll combine both the non-recording and recording rain gauges. Okay. So this is all. This includes all the rain gauges, both recording and non-recording rain gauge. Now let me focus on my particular state. So this is the Karnataka state. In that, I'll go to only Bijapur. So now you see within Bijapur, only on the borders we have rain gauges. Okay, so only on the borders we have rain gauges. Within this, we do not have any rain gauges according to the data that I have here. But there are several state and district bodies are there which are recording the rainfall that we get. But right now in this website we do not have that data. Okay, according to this we have only these are few of the rain gauges. Okay, now you try to understand this entire geographical area. We cannot rely upon the rain gauges which are so scattered, okay, and which are so distinctive in nature. They are at very longer distances between them, and there is no proper representation of this area. So definitely there is inadequacy of rain gauge stations. And whenever I say rain gauge station, it actually represents the rainfall that has happened at this particular point. It is not representing the rainfall that has happened for this entire region. Okay, so whenever we want to get the rainfall record of this entire area, what we do is that we'll take the average of rainfall that has happened in all these rain gauge stations. Okay, so this is how. First, what we do is that I'll go back to the micro thing. First, what we do is that at any particular rain gauge station, assuming this as a rain gauge station, and you can see this is Almaty Dam site. This is your Almaty Dam site, and this is the rainfall that is recorded in Almaty Dam site. Okay, so at the Almaty Dam site, we are recording the rainfall every day. Okay, then similarly, the rainfall is recorded in all the different rain gauge stations. If you want to know how much is the rainfall that is happening in Bijapur, what we do is that we'll take the average of all of this and then we'll represent the rainfall. Okay. Now the daily rainfall is collected here, 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 and everywhere. Okay. Now assume 7th September 2020. I want to get how much is the rainfall that has happened for Bijapur. What I do is that I'll take the rainfall data from all these rain gauge stations. I'll take the average of that and I'll tell you that is the rainfall in Bijapur. Okay, but you must note it down like this. There is no rainfall in all these rain gauge stations. Assume there is rainfall that has happened somewhere here. Do you think I have included the rainfall that happened in this area? No, right? So definitely there are a lot of limitations with respect to the kind of data that we record. Okay, and there is an inadequacy in which way that we are recording the rainfall also. Okay, so I hope this is understandable. Okay, now similarly we can convert into monthly, yearly, and all of those. Okay. Okay, if you have any doubt, you can ask me, or else we'll continue. Fine. So I'd shown you from the website how the rainfall is recorded. Okay. Now what we'll do is we'll try to understand how do we calculate the rainfall over a catchment area. Catchment area or basin both are same. Okay. I had explained you earlier also. So how do we calculate the catchment area? I explained you how we calculate the rainfall value for a particular administrative boundary. In a similar way, we'll calculate the rainfall for a catchment also. The first method is arithmetic mean method. So what does this say? For any given boundary, it may be a administrative boundary or it may be a basin boundary, okay, or a catchment boundary. So we will note down all the uh, rain gauges that we have within that boundary, and all the recorded values of the rain gauge stations are noted down. Like for example, if I am calculating the average rainfall in a catchment area for daily value, day value, like for example on 7th September, I want to calculate how much is the average rainfall that has happened. So I'll take the record of rainfall in all the basin. I'll sum it up and divide by number of rain gauge stations. That will give me the average rainfall that has happened for 7th September. Now, if I want to calculate how much is the average rainfall that has happened in September for whole month, So what I had to do is I had to take the sum of all the rainfall that has taken for September for individual rain gauge stations. Okay, collect all the sum of values of rainfall in individual rain gauge stations, and you create a sum and divide by number of rain gauges. That will give you the average rainfall for a month like September. Similarly, it can be done for year, or it can be done for several months also. So basically, arithmetic mean method gives you the average rainfall that is happening for a catchment area. Okay, right. Next, next is Thiessen polygon method. So Thiessen is a scientist or a hydrologist. He tried to give us a more representative or a more better understanding of rain gauge stations. So what he did is that he divided the catchment area into several zones. Those zones were representing the area that is bounded within a given rain gauge station. So let me explain how this really works. Okay. So this is your catchment area. So within this catchment area, we have three rain gauge stations. Okay. So three rain gauge stations, it means what? Three set of records we have. Okay. Now I want to calculate how much is the area of influence of individual rain gauge stations. So this is my assumption here. What is my assumption? I'll try to determine an area which will be influenced by the first rain gauge. Okay, this rain gauge. Okay. Similarly, I'll calculate the area which will be influenced by second rain gauge station. This is the area which is influenced by third rain gauge station. Okay. This is basically an assumption. We cannot surely say that this rain gauge station, the records that are that are taken from this rain gauge station will not influence this entire area. But this is our assumption that we are doing. But how this assumption is done, I'll explain it to you. Okay. Now, first, what we'll do is we'll create a network of these stations. Okay, and this network is generated by set of triangles. Okay, now we have 1, 2, and 3. First, what we'll do is that we'll connect all these three rain gauge stations. Now, see here. This is P1. P1 is connected to P2. P2 is connected to P3. P3 is connected to P1. Okay. Now you can see that all these are interconnected, and it is connected like a triangle itself. Okay. There will not be any intersection. Okay. Now assume that if there was another station somewhere here, P4, I would have connected it by P3 and P4, but I would have not connected by P1 and P2. I would have connected by P2 and P4. Okay, I'll show you in another way. I'll try to draw a sketch, and I'll try to show you again. Okay, this you try to understand. We'll create a network of triangles by connecting the rain gauge stations. Once you are done with this triangle, what we do is that we'll drop a normal. Okay, at the center of every line. Like for example, if this is the line which is connecting P1 and P2, we'll drop a perpendicular here. Okay, perpendicular exactly at the center of this line. Okay, now similarly, another perpendicular is drawn for this line which is connecting P2 and P3, and this is another perpendicular which is drawn for line which is connecting P1 and P3. Okay, now all of these three will intersect. Okay, all these three lines are intersected, and that intersected line, okay, are dividing the areas. Now see here, this is the line which is drawn perpendicular to this line, this is the line which is drawn perpendicular to this line, and this is the line which is drawn perpendicular to this line. They are intersecting at this point. Okay, now these two lines are bounding this triangle, these two lines are bounding this triangle, and these two lines are bounding this rain gauge station. Okay, like this you will divide this entire catchment area into number of rain gauge stations. Okay, so this is area 1, which is representing the rainfall records from rain gauge station 1. This is area 2, which is representing the rainfall records recorded from rain gauge station 2, and similarly for A3. Okay, we'll calculate the A1, A2 and A3. Okay. Now next thing is that what we do is that we will multiply this value of rainfall with the area. Okay. Again, I'll add the value of rainfall with the A2, and similarly I'll multiply P3 precipitation with area A3. Okay. I'll sum this up. Okay. Now see here, P1 A1, P2 A2, P3 A3 is calculated. Okay. P1 is multiplied by A1, P2 is multiplied by A2, P3 is multiplied by A3. Okay. Then we'll take the sum of all of this. Okay. We'll take the sum of all of this. Now see here, you can see here, this is a 10. 10 is representing P1 and 12 is representing A2. So this is P1 multiplied by A1. Next, P2 multiplied by A2, 20 multiplied by 15. Similarly, P3 multiplied by A3, which is 20 multiplied by 30. Okay. So this equation is like this: P1 multiplied by A1 plus of P2 multiplied by A2 plus of P3 multiplied by A3. This becomes your numerator. Now, what is your denominator? Denominator is basically the total area of the catchment. Okay, what is the total area of catchment? A1 plus A2 plus A3 will give you the total area of the catchment. So basically, from this equation, you will get to know how much is your average rainfall. So you can see here simply what the equation is. So I hope you all remember this. This notation is representing the sum of Pi minus Ai. What is Pi minus A? What is I is representing? I is representing the numbers 1, 2, 3. So what you do is that you take the sum of product of precipitation and rainfall, and then you divide by the total area of the catchment. From that you will get the average rainfall. Okay. So this is what Thiessen polygon method of finding out. Right. There is a last method from which we can calculate the average rainfall for a day, for a month, or for a year. Okay. Now this is called as isoheight method. Isoheight is similar to that of contours. I'll just show you in the next picture. So see, this is the catchment area. This catchment area has several lines. I hope you remember your contour. What are contour lines? Contour lines are imaginary lines which are joining equal elevations in that area. Okay. Now these isoheights are also imaginary lines which are joining the equal rainfalls values. Okay. So you can see these are the lines which are drawn. Okay. Now a map is created for entire geographical area. Okay. This is a very olden method. Now we do not use the isoheight method. As I explained you, the modern method is to divide into several grids, and in earlier we didn't have computers to like formulate all those datas. Okay. To maintain all those datas. So in those days such kind of techniques were used. Right now they have become obsolete, but still it is there in your syllabus. That's why I'm explaining it. So isoheight maps are there. Several isoheight maps used to be there, and using that isoheight maps we can find out how much is the rainfall that is happening. Now see here, this is one of that example. We have three isoheights. Okay. This is first isoheight, this is second, and this is third isoheight. Okay. So this isoheight represents that at this particular line, okay, the rainfall remains same. Okay. Again, this is another value of rainfall which is remaining same. This is also another value where the rainfall remaining same. Okay. Now, as this line passes on any catchment area, what we do is that we'll find out how much is the area that is bounded by this isoheight. Okay. Like for example, this area which I'm pointing out is the area that is influenced by this isoheight. Okay. By this isoheight. Now next what we do is that we will go to this area. Okay. Now this area is bounded between two isoheights. This is the first isoheight and this is the second one. This area which is bounded within the two isoheights. This is my area 2. Okay. Now again similarly, This is the isohyet we have, another isohyet we have here, and this is the area which is bounded by these two isohyets. Okay, this I'll call as A3, and this is the last area which is bounded by this isohyet. Okay, now let us try to find out the average rainfall here. Now, how this average rainfall is calculated? So we basically know the area here. This is A1. A1 is multiplied by the precipitation that takes place in this area, which is 5. Okay, so A1 multiplied by P1, 5 multiplied by 5. Next is this area, which is A2. Okay, A2 should be multiplied. A2 is how much? 18, and A2 should be multiplied by P2. P2 is 15. So 18 multiplied by 15. Similarly, this is another area. This is another area which is A3. A3 is multiplied by P3, which is 25. Again, this is an area which is A4. A4 is multiplied by P3, which is 35. Okay, I hope this is clear. Like this, we'll take the sum of all the products of rainfall and precipitation, and again we'll divide by the total area of precipitation. From this also we'll get to know how much is the average rainfall that has happened. Now again, let me give you uh, a brief note here. This average rainfall can be calculated for a year, the average rainfall can be calculated for a month, or average rainfall can be calculated for a day, week, or season. Okay, like this. So this is how we try to calculate the rainfall for any given catchment area or any geographical area or any administrative boundary. Okay, so that's